Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. I hope you guys are doing well today. Go check out our video we just released a little earlier today on Premier body armor. We go over all the different types of body armor. Many of them are gray man options, which are preferred if you are a prepper. And this is something which, I know I say this a lot, tongue-in-cheek, it's going to be illegal soon, but trust me, body armor is already illegal in a lot of places, and it's regulated heavily here in Canada. You can get it. Fortunately, in the province I live in, if you live in Saskatchewan, you can get it. Anywhere else, though, you need either a permit or you need a purchase and acquisition license, which, of course, if you're a gun owner, you already have. Don't know what the laws are in the States, but I can assure you that they're probably going to start coming for that too. So get it while you can, but just don't lose it in a boating accident, okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, so what do we got to talk about today? I was talking to a friend of mine last night. I consider this individual a friend. We disagree a lot, okay? We disagree about a lot of things, and those are the best kind of friends. Let me just adjust the mic. Friends you can disagree with and still be friends, because you don't want to be surrounding yourself with yes men. That said, he's dead wrong about a lot of things, and he's a fellow YouTuber. A lot of you guys know who he is. Big channel, okay? And it amazes me how resolute some people are in their opinions that are informed by the status quo, mainstream, legacy media, whatever you want to call it, and how little nuance they have or in their perspective of what is actually going on. To be brutally honest, this individual does not know a hell of a lot about what is actually going on in Ukraine, in the war that's unfolding right now. And I don't blame them, because you really have to do a lot of research. You have to be doing research regularly to really truly understand what's going on. The thing is, though, this individual is well aware of, the screw-ups of the U.S. government and the U.S. media in the past, okay, when they've said things that weren't true. That were the foundation for other invasions in the past, okay? We got into things like that George Bush gaffe that happened the other day, where George Bush, accidentally said, talking about the brutal invasion of Iraq. It was a Freudian slip, parapraxis, okay? So he understands that, but at the same time, it's like some people just forget, Yeah, I'll tell you this. You can put this on a t-shirt, all right? If the legacy media told the truth, everyone would be a millionaire. Put that on a t-shirt. You don't even have to pay me royalties, okay? Anyways, it's frightening, because when people of that stature and intellect, he's a very, very smart person. When people of that stature and intellect don't understand what's actually happening, it's scary. We are truly in scary times. Thankfully, one thing we do agree on is that preparedness is of utmost importance. And no matter how you get there, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you're prepared, no matter what your viewpoints are on the situation, that's the most fundamental of all things. So let's talk about some news, shall we? Now, this first story is from a Russian news agency, so I need to preface it by saying that, it very well could be, who knows? Who knows who's telling the truth anymore, right? But just take it with a grain of salt. Now, they claim that the U.S. media's nods toward Russia using a nuclear or tactical nuke in Ukraine is somehow setting the groundwork for a false flag. Now, again, big grain of salt here. Not saying this is going to happen, not saying that this is what that media is suggesting. I'm just saying this is what the opposition is saying. This is the Russian foreign minister, the spokesperson for them, is saying this in Russian. We need to understand what the perspective is over there, even if we might disagree with it. They're saying that the media is laying the groundwork for a large false flag. Now, we know that term has been thrown around an awful lot more than it used to be this year by both Russia and the United States. And usually, now both sides are just using it as cover. So who knows what is actually going to amount to this. But what we do know is that the Russians are going to be building more bases along their western flank. Okay, so Russia will form 12 new military units in its west to face the growing threat from NATO, Sergei Shoigu, who's the head of the Russian military, has said. Apart from intensifying strategic activities, the US-led NATO bloc has also gradually increased training exercises near Russia's borders, Shoigu pointed out. He noted that currently a series of exercises called the Defender of Europe is being conducted involving up to 40,000 personnel from 30 countries of the bloc. So, as Russia begins to take more territory within Ukraine, which is exactly what they're doing, and even our legacy media is starting to admit that that is what's happening. After the fall of Mariupol, I believe it was a big blow to the morale of the Ukrainian fighters, and this also allowed for the reallocation of those troops and those resources, at least to some extent, to other regions. All troops now who've been seasoned, okay? And this is what Dr. Peter Pry was talking about. And if you guys don't think that NATO is scared to fight the Russians, you're not paying attention. I would encourage you to go and watch the interview I did with Peter Pry, former CIA. Okay, some people say he's still CIA, but very, very knowledgeable guy. Okay, and he's going to break it down as to what the strategy could be here in the long run. And it doesn't look good. The Russians are gaining experience in modern ground warfare, and that could potentially pay off in spades if this thing escalates beyond those borders. And we know that it's going to, because now we have the US who is allegedly going to be sending anti-ship missiles. Now, I don't understand why they're even broadcasting this in the first place. You would think, unless there was some, unless they're trying to discourage Russians from doing certain things, I don't understand why you would broadcast it. I understand you need congressional approval and all this, and you need to, outline the specifics of all the stuff that's going to be sent. But why would you broadcast that? Okay, so the idea is if they send these anti-ship missiles and Ukraine starts taking out the Russian Navy in the Black Sea, then, we could potentially see a major, major escalation. Of course, Russia has claimed recently to have targeted, and they've been doing this all along, but they've recently successfully hit some supplies which were coming into Ukraine from the US. I'm not sure if this was a first part of the package, of the $40 billion package, or if it was just other supplies, armaments, some of the howitzers, whatever the case might be. I know they've neutralized a lot of that stuff. It's not looking good for NATO right now. And I think they're scared, because if they weren't scared, they would be confronting them directly. Now, you could say, yes, they don't want to go to World War III, and that's called being scared. Okay, we don't want World War III. Nobody wants World War III, but the U.S. is going to have its hands full, because there's a lot of stuff breaking out in the Middle East. There's this Chariots of Fire exercise that is being conducted, which is simulating a strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities. It's a joint exercise between Israel and the United States. Now, that in itself, I don't really understand, because I don't understand why you would want to broadcast that. Why would you want to let the Iranians know that you were going to be doing something like this? It almost seems like it's a cover for something else. Perhaps it's going to be not so much an exercise and actually a real world incident. Maybe it's going to be targeting either Hamas or Hezbollah or who knows who exactly. But it seems strange that they would be so specific with respect to what they were going to be doing. You think that would be a little bit more classified. Why would you want to put the Iranians on notice? Now, maybe they're just trying to force some sort of deal, but the Israelis are saying that they don't think that a deal is going to be struck, and as such, because they're claiming that the Iranians may have enough nuclear material to make a bomb within 2 weeks. We've been hearing that for 20 years. They claim that they are preparing to take out these facilities. Some of them, of course, are deep underground. How they're going to do this, I don't know. But we do know that Iran is preparing for the apocalypse. We know that the leader of Hamas has been invited to Moscow for a meeting. And we also know that Iran and Russia and China are all strategic military partners. And it's surprising already. It's surprising that the Iranians have not gotten more support from the Russians. I'm sure there's some love triangle going on between Zelensky, Russia, the Prime Minister of Israel, and Iran. There's something going on there that I really don't fully comprehend yet. Anyways, it's not looking good. That's all you need to know. In terms of the Pacific theater, we have the U.S. running live warfare simulation on national television with China. The Americans ran a live broadcast on NBC of a simulation of the U.S.-China war over Taiwan. The purpose is to prepare the American people as the war game they simulate showed a generalized conflict involving China, Japan, Australia, and the Philippines, as well as the Americans. The Americans split into two groups and analyzed every possible move by the Chinese. The simulation draws conclusions that are not good for either the Americans or Taiwan or the wider region. The Center for a New American Security has run a war game that simulates a U.S.-China war, which was aired on NBC Meet the Press. Now, this simulated a war game or a conflict which takes place in the year 2027. Sounds about right. CNAS co-founder Michel Flournoy, who appeared in the war simulation with China on Meet the Press, was once a big favorite to head Biden's Pentagon. He wrote an article in Foreign Affairs in 2020 arguing that the United States needed to develop its ability to sink all Chinese warships, submarines, and merchant ships in the South China Sea within 72 hours. Okay? So we're being primed for another war in that theater. So you have things flaring up in the Middle East. You have Europe, which has already gone hot. Hotter than hot. Scalding hot. Then you got the Southwest Pacific, or Southeast Pacific, I should say, which is going crazy. All right. Now, we also have some climatic issues. We got snow in Brazil, which is very, very rare at this time of year. We also have Spain bracing for a heat wave of extraordinary intensity. Record temperatures throughout the month of May, including France. Temperatures in parts of Spain are already forecast to exceed 42 degrees in May on Saturday. Okay, bringing dusty skies and heightened risk of forest fires. Blistering conditions usually more seen in high summer than in May. They recorded their hottest ever temperature last year, which was 47.4 degrees Celsius, and spring heat records have also been broken in France, where the country enters its 38th consecutive day of abnormally high temperatures, with parts of the south already exceeding 33 degrees, and some models predicting temperatures will rise locally to 37 or 39 by the end of the week. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. If we don't have, one problem, we got another. Gas prices hit an all-time high yesterday. What else is new? The ruble also hit a 7-year high because of Gazprom's whole Gas for Rubles program. If you don't know much about that, basically the Russians have forced countries to buy first natural gas and oil in rubles, and soon they are likely going to extend that to the other commodities like grains. This is going to strengthen their currency. And this is how they're going to compete with the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is still a safe haven for a lot of people, because anytime you have a war going on, anytime you have a crisis going on, people are going to flock to what they know, and what they know is the U.S. dollar. So it's very deceiving when you see that the U.S. dollar is doing well right now. It's not because it actually is. It's because people have no better place to go. But eventually, people could potentially gravitate to these other currencies, depending on the way this war goes. And that's the real, what would you call it, wild card here. We don't really know if, how the ruble versus dollar situation is going to play out. If Russia wins, the Ukraine war, if they take it all, there's a good chance that their currency is going to be strengthened because now they have this Gazprom situation. If everything remains as is, then I don't see why their currency and their economy wouldn't continue to grow. What else do we got here? The leader of the Azov battalion was transferred from the Azovstal plant in an armored vehicle, apparently because there's a lot of residents in Mariupol, and a lot of people don't realize this. Like, if you don't understand, and this person I was talking to, who has the YouTube channel, who, was very steadfast in their opinions and beliefs about the situation, but lacked any real insight into the history of the region. If you don't understand that a big part of Ukraine is Russian speaking, and lots of these territories that the Russians have already taken are pro-Russian. If you don't understand that, then if you don't know the history, especially in the last 10 years, then you really don't know what's going on. You're just basing it all on what you hear in the news, and which is really just surface level stuff, it's like a dermatologist trying to do open heart surgery. Okay, you're not going to get to you're not going to really truly understand what is happening. So anyways, they had to transfer this guy in an armored vehicle because the locals don't like him. And I've seen many videos of these higher ranking commanders within this particular battalion being paraded through the streets, and the locals really don't like a lot of these guys. I'm not saying in all cases. In some places they're championed as heroes, others not so much. In other news, Earth's oceans have reached the hottest, most acidic levels on record. Isn't that great? This means that rapid ocean warming has triggered a drop in the global fish populations, because who needs fish when we're in a food crisis, and has threatened communities, fishing economies, and those in polar and high mountain regions. I just got a message the other day. I believe there's been more regulations put on the cod fishing out in the Maritimes. Of course, the cod populations had collapsed due to overfishing. Silly humans. Back, what was that, like 30 odd years ago or something like that. I think the populations had started to replenish themselves again, but quickly they are overfished because human beings don't know how to manage anything worth a damn, it appears. So all of these things, this is all just going to coalesce into a big old SHTF sandwich that we're all going to have to take a bite out of. And I'm surprised that, crime must be, I don't know how crime is where you guys are, but the thefts, and my security guy is telling me, the guy who installed my security system in our warehouse, just telling me about all the crazy things. Like, people are stealing everything. If you focus on security, guys, focus on home security, make sure you got your stuff locked down. Be very vigilant, because people are going to start getting desperate soon as inflation rises, as the markets get worse, and as it all just continues to culminate into the end of days. Go check out that video that I released earlier today. Hopefully you guys enjoy it and maybe even learn something. I know I certainly did in making that video. There was a lot that I didn't know about body armor, and it's interesting subject, so go check it out. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, stay ready. Canadian Prepper out.